everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video I thought I'd do something a little different and do a pregnancy video. If you are new here, my name is Natalie and I usually post 2 to 3 videos a week all about makeup and beauty. But if you do like what you see here today, I hope you will consider subscribing before you leave. But why don't we get started? So if you're not aware, I'm currently 20 something weeks pregnant. I do usually do makeup and beauty content on my channel, but since announcing my pregnancy I have been meaning to do some pregnancy content, but I just keep kind of going back to makeup and beauty because that's just what I've always done, and I've not been too sure what pregnancy content anyone would like to see. I have just actually finished filming my latest in beauty unboxing, which should be live on my channel at the point this goes up. I'm not too sure at what point I'm going to put this video live. But when I was going through my notepad to look at the values for my latest in beauty video, I stumbled across a list I'd written a few weeks ago, and that is of 10 symptoms that are different from my first pregnancy to my second. So I thought, whilst I'm all kind of made up and things, I've filmed a video, I'll just continue and film this list. So this may be my first and last pregnancy video, I'm not too sure yet. I'm not really inspired when it comes to thinking of pregnancy video ideas, so if anyone's got anything specific they would like to see, feel free to drop it in the comments below, because I could perhaps do those videos as more kind of laid back videos. I don't know, I'm not too sure, but this is my first one, so we'll see how we go. So I did come up with a list of 10 symptoms that are different from my first pregnancy to my second quite easily. Now I come to think about it, this actually is going to be more relevant if I do a gender reveal. So I didn't even think that's what I'll need to do in this video, because otherwise I'm going to slip up. So just to give you a bit of background, I do currently have a 5-year-old daughter and I'm now pregnant with my second child due in the new year. And we did find out a few weeks ago that I'm actually having a boy. I personally had kind of wanted another girl just because of familiarity and things like that. And also I'm actually an only child, so siblings kind of confuse me is probably the best word to say, and I wanted to go with, say, familiarity of what I knew. And now it's a boy, I haven't really got a clue what I'm doing, although I do have 2 small nephews, so you think I'd kind of know by now. So yes, we are expecting a boy. So now looking through these symptoms, I'm kind of not surprised that they are so different from the first pregnancy. And to be honest, if we hadn't have found out it was a boy, I would have perhaps thought that anyway. And at the point we did find out, I had a kind of inkling that it was a boy because everything just felt so different from my first pregnancy. I was kind of putting it down to the fact that it was 5 or 6 years ago that I was pregnant. I'm obviously a lot older now and things, but there was just too many little things that were different that made me think it was a boy, and turns out I was right. So yeah, that's going to be a fun learning curve next year. So these are in no particular order. I've not kind of written them down in the order in which the symptoms struck me. It's just the symptoms as a whole. So the first one I wrote down, which did make me think to do this list, was heartburn. I don't think I suffered heartburn in my first pregnancy, hardly at all. I may have towards the very end, but not really. As a general rule, I'm not someone who ever suffers from heartburn anyway, so when I get it, I'm very aware about it, if that makes sense. I do normally get indigestion, and I do think they say you're either one of those people that gets indigestion or you get heartburn. So for me, it's indigestion, but again, it's not really a regular occurrence. But about halfway through, I think it was my first trimester, I got my first few bouts of heartburn. It's not a constant thing, it's not every day. I've not managed to put my finger on it with certain foods triggering it or anything like that. It does just seem to be completely random. Sometimes it is absolutely fine and sometimes it's quite bad. I did actually purchase some of those Gaviscon tablety things. It said they were chewable and I stupidly thought that meant they were going to be like jelly sweets, not like the horrible powder things that they are. So I don't like them at all. They actually turn my stomach to eat them. So out of the pack of 24 or something I got, I think I've only had 3 of them because my heartburn has to be unbearable for me to be willing to have one of them. They did come in a couple of flavours. I think it was peppermint and berry. And again, because I thought it was a jelly type sweet, I thought berry would be nicer. A berry powdered tablet thing is just absolutely vile, and sometimes the heartburn is just not worth it to have one of them. I'd rather just put up with the heartburn. It's only when it gets really bad that I have to have one of them, or if perhaps it strikes just as I'm kind of getting ready to go to bed, and I know it'll stop me sleeping, so I will have one of them. But I do think I've only had like 3 out of the packet because they are just vile. So yeah, heartburn has been a fun one. I can't remember getting it in the first pregnancy. If I did, it was very mild and it was towards the very end. And I think, isn't it an old wives' tale that if you have heartburn, the baby's got a full head of hair? So because I had so little heartburn, they did expect my daughter to come out with no hair, and she did have a decent head of hair on her. So by this effect, this child's going to come out with hair this length, because they say the heartburn is pretty bad and did start really early on. The next symptom I've put down is back pain. Again, I did suffer from back pain in my first pregnancy, but I don't think I suffered from it at all until the 3rd trimester. I think I may have had the odd little tweaks and twinge and things in the 2nd trimester, but nothing really at all. I think as a general rule, I was extremely lucky in my first pregnancy. Symptoms wise, I kind of breezed through it. So in that respect, I'm not really surprised that the list here is so different. But there are certain things like back pain that I just thought would be the same points in pregnancy. I have looked into it since, and it does say that you do suffer back pain more with your 2nd child because everything is kind of looser from the first pregnancy. But again, because such a large time had amassed, I'd hoped it had kind of gone back in shape slightly. I don't know. But I'm getting back pain in kind of random spots more than general all over back pain. Although now I am only a couple of weeks away from my 3rd trimester, it is becoming more all over. But for a lot of the time, it was just in my right hip and also at the kind of middle top of my back. Random places, I know. But the back pain, especially the one in my hip, started really early on when I didn't really even have a bump. So I didn't feel like it was because of the extra weight or anything like that. But I can only imagine at the point I'm feeling now, it's only going to get so much worse, which is going to be fun. If anyone has any possible remedies for back pain, please let me know. Symptom number 3 is something that I don't believe I experienced last time at all. And that is the feeling of the baby, I want to say kind of tap dancing on my bladder. Obviously towards the end of my last pregnancy, I got pressure and things, and I felt like I needed to go to the toilet more because of the weight of the baby on my bladder. But this is again something that happened pretty much immediately from when I started feeling the baby. It just felt like he was using my bladder as a squeeze toy, and it just wasn't pleasant. That was the most I kind of felt from him. He felt like he was really, really low down immediately. And I do think I am carrying lower this time around, but again, I think that's an old wives' tale, because with my daughter I did carry quite high, whereas now I feel like I'm carrying really low. Actually, now I think about it, could be why I've got more back pain, because I'm carrying lower. But yeah, he just seems to always know exactly where my bladder is, and either headbutts it, kicks it, or sometimes literally feels like he's kind of wringing it in his hands. Put it this way, when I've been working from home, I'm really glad that my home office is next door to the bathroom, because sometimes it's cutting it a bit fine. Symptom 4 is one that I'm saying is different from last time, but I'm not 100% sure because I can't really remember this one from last time, and that is faster growing body hair. I remember definitely with my daughter that my hair grew faster and thicker, which has been the case this time around again. I also generally kind of pre-pregnancy, when I brush my hair, I always tend to get a lot of it in my brush and kind of down the sink when I'm washing it. But when I'm pregnant, my hair definitely seems stronger, so I don't have that at all. There's hardly ever anything in the plug hole in the shower or anything like that. But that I do definitely remember from last time, because with it being my first pregnancy last time, and it was something that I'd always suffered from, to suddenly not have my hair clogging up the drain was quite nice. But this time around, I'm definitely noticing my kind of body hair growing more, like my underarms and my legs and things. And I don't remember that being the case last time. Generally, my hair doesn't grow that fast. Like, I'm someone who doesn't have to constantly feel like they need to shave their legs. Even kind of throughout the summer, I can get away with not doing it very frequently. And my underarms, again, same sort of thing, I don't have to do it as frequently. Whereas at this point, I feel like I need to shave under my arms every like couple of days. It comes back full force. My husband made the point that perhaps because it's a boy, I've got testosterone in my body that I didn't have before. That could be a whole load of BS, but it kind of adds up and makes sense. So yeah, that's been a fun symptom to contend with, and I'm going through razor heads a lot quicker than I did last time. Symptom 5 is tiredness, which, yes, okay, I did have a lot of tiredness in the first pregnancy, but it is hitting me so much harder this time around. And I'm kind of putting it down to the fact that I am 5 or 6 years older. I mean, that might not be the only factor, but the way I'm looking at it is I'm technically less active in this pregnancy than I was in my first pregnancy, because at the moment I am doing partially working from home, whereas in my first pregnancy I was in a lot more stressful of a job. I was commuting to the office 5 days a week by public transport, whereas now I'm doing partial work from home for a couple of days a week, and then I'm in the office a few days a week, but I'm driving into the office, which is less stressful in some respects than public transport. I'm on my feet a lot less than I was then, so in theory I didn't think I would be as tired, but I am so much more tireder, really hitting a wall around about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so the last couple of hours of work is really hard. But I also am suffering from insomnia, which I think I did get in my first pregnancy, so that's technically not on this list, but it comes to the point where I think I need to have an early night, I get into bed and I'm suddenly wide awake and can't fall asleep. So it is obviously a vicious cycle that I'm in, but I do think this symptom is probably just due to me being older and things. So that was a bit of a weird one that I was expecting, but I didn't think it'd hit as hard and as much as it has done as early on. Symptom number 6 is one that I fully expected, and that is I feel like my baby brain is so much worse. I definitely suffered from baby brain in my first pregnancy. That didn't really go away after I had my daughter. It did obviously improve over the years, but I don't think it ever kind of went away. So I think it's kind of compacted the fact that I've always had residual baby brain, now plus full-blown hormonal baby brain, that I'm just the lost cause at this point. There are so many occasions where I will lose my train of thought mid-sentence. I don't think I've done that before, but I will be talking to my husband or my mum or something, and then I'll just kind of go dead between the eyes and just stop. They've now learned what's happened, so they just kind of carry on and hope I'll revive my train of thought and things, but a lot of the times it's gone forever. Which is always fun when trying to film YouTube videos. There are regular times since being pregnant that I've had to cut out long pauses of me just staring into the camera, completely forgetting what I was talking about. I've just realised the next symptom written down on my list is one I've already mentioned, and that is carrying lower. Again, like I say, I do think that is kind of an old wives' tale, in that if it's a girl you carry higher, if it's a boy you carry lower. But I definitely feel like he is so much lower down. I did used to have quite a high bump with my daughter, which felt like I had a beach ball up my shirt from very early on in my pregnancy, whereas this time around everything just feels so much lower. And again, I don't know if it is because of my muscles relaxed from last time. I would naturally have a lower sitting pregnancy second time around or not, or if it is because of the fact it's a boy. So that I think has made things a little bit more uncomfortable. I've noticed if I'm, for example, sitting on the couch and I'm sitting on my side, I do usually have to kind of prop something under my stomach because I feel a bit more like my skin stretching and things because it's hanging lower, as it were. So that's been one that has been making me a bit more uncomfortable, and again could be linked to the back pain. The next symptom I've put down is shortness of breath. I don't remember getting this in my first pregnancy at all. Maybe perhaps in the final couple of weeks, just if I would kind of overexert myself, I'd get shortness of breath. But with this pregnancy, I got it really early on in the first trimester, and it would be the case of I could just be sitting here and I would feel short of breath, going up and down the stairs, not even at a fast pace. It would take me a while to catch my breath. Filming these YouTube videos, I'd have to have breaks because I'd have to catch my breath after filming for 10 or 15 minutes. I didn't film YouTube videos when pregnant with my daughter, so I can't say about that in that respect, but just generally in life, I don't believe I had shortness of breath, which, now thinking about it, would have made more sense to have in my first pregnancy. With carrying higher, you would think it'd push my lungs up more, whereas the way I'm carrying at the moment, my lungs still sort of have as much space as they need at the moment. I was expecting it to hit later on in pregnancy, but yeah, I definitely had this symptom, I think since maybe about week 10 or something it got me. It's not constant, I can go a week or so without it, although it is getting more consistent now as I'm getting further along, but just generally that was one that I wasn't expecting and one I didn't like at all, especially with the kind of current situation where shortness of breath isn't a good thing, but I feel like it is completely pregnancy dependent. But yeah, that was one I'm not a big fan of. I had more nausea in my first trimester than the last time around. I've been lucky in both pregnancies that I haven't actually been physically sick with the nausea in the first trimester, With my daughter, I believe I had about 2 weeks of nausea that wasn't even that bad, and it passed and it never really came back. This time round I was nauseous for quite a few weeks, and there were quite a few times where it would affect me kind of eating, whereas with my daughter I don't believe it really affected my eating. I also found that this time round it was in certain windows of the day, which I don't remember from last time. I think when I first struck at around about week 10, if I remember rightly, it always struck around lunchtime, so it was about 11 o'clock it would hit, and then it would tend to have gone by about 2 p.m. Then as I progressed further into the pregnancy and over the next few weeks, it kind of then went later into the day, so that it would then sometimes affect my dinner, because it would strike around 3 p.m. and then not necessarily disappear until about 6 p.m. So that was quite strange, the way it sort of transitioned throughout the day. The best thing I found to combat the nausea was a tip I actually seen from Zoe Sugg. She recently had a little girl herself back in, I think, September. So she was pregnant a few months before me, and she had said the only thing that was helping her was, I think she was drinking a lot of Sprite and having a lot of Werther's Original sweets. The Sprite didn't really help me because that just made me feel bloated, but the Werther's Original were an absolute godsend. So much so that I stocked up on about 4 bags of them, but once the nausea went away I didn't really need to reach for them anymore, so I'll probably still have about 3 bags in the cupboard. But they were great because I could just have one of them and it would take the effect away temporarily. Over the course of a few hours I would go through a few of the sweets, but they did definitely help. So if you are struggling with nausea yourself, I would recommend giving them a go. Or possibly any hard-boiled sweets may help, but for me the Werther's Original that she recommended worked. Obviously, because of the nausea, this leads into my 10th and final different symptom, in that I had no appetite. At that point in the pregnancy, the kind of end of the first trimester, beginning of the second trimester, I did just put it down to the fact that I was nauseous, that I had no appetite. But once the nausea had gone and had been gone for a few weeks, my appetite didn't really pick up. And I know they say you're not technically supposed to eat for 2 anyway, but I found that I was kind of struggling to eat for 1. I would still have the 3 square meals a day, and I would have the odd snack, but that was more so my husband bringing something up to me while I was working, saying, have this. If I didn't know it was a certain time of the day that I was supposed to eat, I don't think I would really notice. I would come a point if I hadn't eaten for a few hours where I would be suddenly ravenous, but then it wouldn't take much to satisfy that. And I know they say with pregnancy that you are supposed to eat little and often, but I didn't feel the need for that, because I could go a few hours without being hungry, but then when I was hungry I wanted something bigger. So I just didn't have an appetite. And to be honest, even now at 20 something weeks, I say 20 something because I don't know at what point this video is going live, but I'm at the second half of the 20 something weeks, I still don't really have a massive appetite. I am still eating the 3 square meals a day, and I am maybe snacking that little bit more. But I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was just constantly hungry. I would have to take a kind of bag full of snacks to work, and I would be eating probably every 90 minutes because I was just constantly hungry. Whereas now I'll have my breakfast about 8 a.m. and then I might get hungry 11:30. I might have a small snack then, and then I might have my lunch like an hour later. But then I'm not really hungry until it comes to dinner time, which is 5 or 6 o'clock. And then after my dinner, sometimes I'll get hungry about 10 o'clock at night, but not always. And I feel like I should be eating more, but then I don't want to force myself to eat more, because if I'm honest, I've not eaten as healthy this pregnancy as I did the first time around. And I don't know if that is linked to the appetite thing, because I do have to kind of eat what I feel like. If I try to eat overly healthy stuff and I'm not enjoying it, then I just don't want to eat it. So I'm just having to eat what I feel like there and then. So a lot of our meals have had to be a little bit more last minute based on what I'm feeling like at that moment. So that's been a bit of a weird symptom that I can't really explain, and I don't know why I haven't got a full appetite or why I'm not wanting to eat for 2. My husband's very appreciative of it because I'm not sending him out at 3 a.m. for ice cream. But yeah, that was one that I really wasn't expecting. So there's been a few symptoms on this list that definitely caught me off guard that I wasn't expecting, that I say I didn't experience first time around. I did think I wasn't going to be so lucky to breathe through a second pregnancy as I did my first. I'm also putting it in my head that my labour's probably not going to be as easy as it was the first time around either. But I'm trying not to think about that one too much until as late as possible. I just want to get Christmas out of the way first before I start even thinking about what my labour's going to be like. But that is it for my list of 10 symptoms that are different in my second pregnancy than my first, and also to announce that I am having a little boy. So that is it for today's video. A little different from what I do usually do on my channel, but I thought I would stick a pregnancy video in just to kind of see how it is received. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Thanks.